Welcome to the verse-by-verse study of the book of Proverbs. We shall finish the chapter today with chapter 31 and looking at the final verses 10 through 31, which are actually a beautiful poem that describes and celebrates God's wisdom by using a virtuous woman as a role model of wisdom in action. Let's begin. A wife of noble character. In the King James it uses the term virtuous woman. Who can find such a person? She and wisdom, they are worth far more than rubies. The author is praising the virtues of both wisdom and this godly woman by reminding us that both should be highly praised and are precious and should be pursued and appreciated. As it was back then and it is today, both women and wisdom are they're often underappreciated. And this key word here is noble or virtuous. It describes this godly woman as a person of wisdom, but also the Hebrew word means strength, bravery, valor, highly capable, highly trustworthy, which the author will begin to highlight in these verses. Let's take a look beginning in verse 11. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. So both wisdom and this virtuous woman can be trusted. They are a valuable partner. And it says she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. The point of the author is that this trust has been invested in this person, in this partnership, in this relationship with wisdom and this person, and is proven consistently to bring blessings. Next, the author will begin to offer some practical examples of this virtuous superwoman of wisdom that serves as our role model for both men and women. And he begins, she selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like a merchant ships, the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. So this is a person of diligence and productivity, as opposed to a sluggard we've learned about through Proverbs that sleeps the day away. She has servants or employees, yet she still chooses to get up early in the morning and go to the marketplace and personally choose the wool and flax used for linen. As we shall see later in the verses, she weaves this cloth together, not only for her family, but also to provide for her employees and also to operate a very successful retail and wholesale business. And notice how the author describes her character is compared to a courageous, strong merchant ship that braves the dangers and complexities of the sea to bring needed supplies from afar. This superwoman's virtues continue starting in 16. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard into that field. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. You must remember during these times, women were viewed as and treated as inferiors. So to read this is quite remarkable. But as we've seen here, and as we'll have seen throughout Scripture, God has always been an advocate of women. He celebrates women and their timeless or limitless capacity. So the verse states that this woman considers, which means she does the analysis, she does the due diligence, and she's in charge of making the final decision, that investment decision in that property. This second verse in the King James says that after buying the property, she girds herself for the task, which means she also gets her hands, quote, dirty with physical labor to prepare that land for the vineyard planting. And her godly wisdom and diligence is rewarded with both profits and security, that when hard times come, her lamp for her family will not go out, meaning she has the income for her family and the household from that property investment. Next, we have the author adds, she also has the complex skills and the patience of a weaver of cloth design. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. The author will now shift gears and speak about her heart. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hand to the needy. To open one's arms or to open one's hand speaks of an open, generous heart as opposed to a greedy heart. The next verses address her attitude and her bearing. When it snows, she has no fear. She has confidence. She has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. So, as a result of her diligence, her godly diligence and wisdom, she's at peace. She has confidence that her family and her household is taken care of, is secure. This color scarlet implies well taken care of. And notice also God has blessed her with enough, blessed her diligence with enough income to ensure she too is taken care of with, quote, fine clothing. Now, how does this impact the husband? How does her behavior impact the husband? 23 tells us, her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. The implication here is because of the reputation of the wife, how she's respected by the people, and her husband also is respected. He has become a trusted elder that sits at the city gate, which means he's been chosen as a member of the city council, which serves as a civic and judicial body for the entire community. This is a couple that is well respected within the community, and the community relies upon. Again, the author speaks of her skill and her entrepreneurship. She makes linen garments and sells them, meaning she retails them, and supplies the merchants. She also is a wholesaler with sashes. Again, he adds, she is clothed in strength and dignity. She can laugh, and actually in the King James it says she smiles. She can smile at the days to come. The author is telling us that this can-do person possesses inner strength and dignity and optimism. She's positive, not negative. Rather than dreading the future, she looks forward to it with a confident smile and trust in God. The praise continues. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness, meaning she's not lazy. When this lady speaks, people listen because of her proven godly wisdom. Her advice is always proven to be faithful, meaning it's reliable and trustworthy. The King James also adds a translation, she teaches with kindness or teaches in kindness, which means her advice is not only trustworthy, but also filled with sincere kindness. So what is the impact on her kids? Her children arise and call her blessed, meaning they wish her blessings. Her husband also does likewise, and he praises her. He says, many women do noble things, but you, sweetheart, you surpass them all. So mom's diligence, her behavior is rewarded with appreciation from both her children and her husband. Now let's stop here for a moment. Does this mean the teenager kids and your husband always are going to appreciate the hard work of mom? Absolutely not. The author is describing how a family should appreciate mom and mom's wisdom. Now, the key verse of the entire passage and the entire book. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. The author's point is this journey to become this virtuous person is a long journey, but it always begins with the fear of the Lord. This statement is repeated 12 different locations in 12 different chapters within the book of Proverbs. It began back in chapter 1, all the way here now in chapter 31. Again, this is not a fear from or intimidation, fear from punishment or a fear of intimidation, but is an attitude of respect, an attitude of reverence, humility, anticipation, and appreciation towards God and God's wisdom. This person has a heart set on pursuing God's wisdom. And there'll never be a super perfect virtuous person, no. But we will always be a work in beautiful progress. The book and chapter closes with, honor her, meaning honor God's wisdom, for all that her hands have done and continues to do. And let her work bring her and God praise at the city gate, meaning let God's wisdom bring joy and peace into this world through you and me. Well, that is a fitting end to this passage and to this book. And it's a fitting beginning of this new holiday season. We shall begin a new book next year, but for next week I'll post a previously recorded message, which is entitled The Christmas Story of Philemon. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless your family with both his grace and his peace. Aloha.